In the infinite vastness of space, where stars whispered secrets of civilizations long extinct, and the void echoed with the silence of forgotten empires, humanity's greatest challenge wasn't survival, it was purpose. Stripped of the familiar anchors of Earth's morality, the explorers of the void found themselves adrift, guided only by the flickering light of a moral compass that seemed to falter with every choice. What defines humanity when the universe offers no absolutes, only endless uncertainty? The stars shimmered like a trillion tiny diamonds scattered across an abyss, each one holding the potential for secrets that could redefine existence. Humanity had always been driven by its insatiable curiosity, the same fire that once led it to the moon and Mars, now propelling it beyond the Milky Way. This fleet, a marvel of human ingenuity, was the pinnacle of that ambition. The engines hummed with quiet confidence, and the ships gleamed like mechanical leviathans, poised to devour the mysteries of the cosmos. But as they crossed the threshold into uncharted space, the confidence began to waver. Humanity's explorers weren't just venturing into the unknown, they were stepping into a realm where the rules of morality, ethics, and even logic seemed to warp and twist like space itself. What use was a moral compass when there was no map to follow? The question lingered, an invisible passenger aboard every vessel. The first sign of trouble came not from alien fleets or cosmic storms, but from the quiet realization that their own technology was beginning to fail in ways they couldn't explain. AI systems, which had once been paragons of precision, began to offer suggestions that were offbeat, to say the least. Suggesting we name the next discovered star system after my ex-wife, one pilot muttered to his logs because, quote, "it's cold and uninhabitable." The fleet engineers laughed nervously, but the humor couldn't mask the gnawing anxiety creeping through the corridors. When the first alien relic appeared, a massive monolith orbiting a dead planet, the mood shifted from unease to awe. Its surface was carved with intricate symbols that seemed to dance when observed. Cameras captured images, but the symbols never appeared the same twice. Was it a message, a warning, or some cosmic practical joke? The science team spent hours analyzing it before concluding it might just be alien graffiti. "If we find a galactic restroom, this thing's probably scrawled in every stall," one researcher joked. Despite the humor, a weight pressed on them. The relic wasn't just a curiosity, it was a mirror. It reflected humanity's greatest fear, that their values, their ethics, their very essence, might mean nothing in the grand scheme of the universe. Were they explorers, or were they ants crawling across the face of something incomprehensible? The weight of insignificance was heavier than any black hole. And then came the signal, an artificial burst of energy, impossibly old and faint, but unmistakably deliberate. It was not a language they understood, not a sound they recognized, but its intent felt universal. "Come closer if you dare." Some called it a beacon of hope, others called it a cosmic trap. One engineer quipped, "It's probably the universe's way of asking if we've tried turning morality off and back on again." But deep down, they all knew this was a moment of no return. Humanity was no longer just exploring the stars. It was about to confront the void within itself. The journey deeper into the uncharted brought a strange silence. It wasn't the absence of noise. Engines still hummed, systems buzzed, and distant stars pulsed like cosmic metronomes. No, it was a different kind of quiet. The kind that creeps into a room when everyone is waiting for someone else to speak. The crew had entered a region where the only landmarks were the fading whispers of civilizations long gone. The first planet they stumbled upon was barren, its surface littered with the skeletons of gargantuan structures. Once, these ruins might have been cities or temples, now they were a graveyard of ambition. The structures reached skyward as though their builders had hoped to grasp the stars themselves. Instead, they had crumbled, overtaken by time's relentless march. The science team sent drones to collect samples, but what they brought back was sobering. Among the debris were fragments of art, abstract sculptures, and faded murals. They weren't just remnants of a lost culture, they were echoes of values and dreams. One mural depicted beings with elongated limbs standing in harmony under twin suns. Another showed those same beings crumbling into dust, their harmony fractured. The interpretations were as varied as the crew. Some saw warnings, others saw reflections. "Looks like the universe's answer to a group therapy session gone wrong," one researcher joked, earning a few uneasy laughs. Humor was the crew's last defense against the enormity of what they faced. The artifacts didn't just tell a story of collapse, they posed questions. What had doomed these beings? Had they lost their way, abandoning whatever moral frameworks had once united them? Or had they clung too tightly to those frameworks, unable to adapt as their reality shifted? The captain ordered a deeper exploration, leading the team to a cavern beneath the ruins. Inside, they found a massive tablet etched with symbols that seemed hauntingly familiar. It was unlike anything from Earth, yet it carried a resonance that stirred something primal. The linguistics team dubbed it the cosmic to-do list, though the humor barely masked their unease. One scientist speculated it might be a code of conduct, perhaps the alien equivalent of 10 Commandments, or maybe just a recipe for disaster. Another suggested it was a manifesto of their downfall. Rule 1, don't build too high. Rule 2, don't annoy your neighbors. Rule 3, don't forget Rule 1, a technician quipped, prompting a few nervous chuckles. But the jokes couldn't dispel the weight of the discovery. These ruins weren't just ancient, they were eerily recent. The timeline suggested the collapse had occurred only a few millennia ago, a blink in the cosmic timeline. Worse, their technology rivaled humanity's, suggesting they had reached a peak before plunging into oblivion. The parallels were impossible to ignore. Humanity had always prided itself on its resilience, its ability to rise from the ashes of war and chaos. But staring at the ruins, the crew couldn't help but wonder, were they seeing a glimpse of their future? For all their technology, their ingenuity, and their determination, the crew was haunted by a single question: if these beings, so advanced, had fallen, what hope did humanity have? The fleet pressed onward, leaving the ruins and their unsettling implications behind. Yet, the unease lingered like a shadow cast by an unseen sun. The discovery had planted seeds of doubt that refused to be uprooted. Were they truly pioneers of a brighter future, or just the latest contestants in a galactic game where extinction was the only prize? As they charted a course toward the next star system, the quiet was shattered by a signal so faint it almost escaped detection. At first, it was dismissed as background noise, the cosmic equivalent of static, but as the fleet's receivers honed in, the signal became unmistakable, an ancient distress call, human in origin. The message was garbled, fragmented by centuries of decay, but what remained was chilling. Words like lost, too far, and compass faltered, crackled through the speakers. The crew exchanged uneasy glances. A distress call from a human expedition was unsettling enough. The tone of despair in the message made it worse. Piecing together fragments of the signal, the analysts determined it came from a colony ship launched over 300 years ago, one of Earth's earliest attempts to reach beyond the solar system. It had been presumed destroyed, swallowed by the vastness of space. Yet here it was, calling out from the void like a ghost refusing to rest. The decision to investigate wasn't unanimous. Some argued it was a waste of resources, a distraction from their primary mission. Others believed they owed it to their predecessors to uncover the truth. One cynical crew member quipped, "Great, we're about to poke the galactic equivalent of a haunted house. What could possibly go wrong?" The signal led them to a desolate star system, orbiting a red dwarf so faint it barely cast shadows. There, a lone ship drifted, a relic of another era, its design unmistakably human, but weathered by centuries of neglect. The once proud vessel, named Eos, floated like a tomb in the abyss. Drones were sent to investigate. The first images transmitted back were haunting. The interior of the Eos was eerily intact, as though its occupants had simply vanished mid-step. Meals sat untouched on tables, tools lay scattered as if dropped in haste, and the control panels blinked with sporadic activity, as though the ship itself clung to the hope of rescue. Among the ship's logs, one message stood out, scrawled hastily across a tablet: "We strayed too far. Morality unraveled. Values lost." The implications hit like a punch to the gut. What had happened here? Had the isolation driven them to madness? Had their moral compass failed when tested against the relentless indifference of the cosmos? The crew debated endlessly, but answers remained elusive. As they combed through the wreckage, a chilling realization took hold. The Eos wasn't a cautionary tale of failure, it was a mirror. The parallels to their own journey were too stark to ignore. For all their advances, their meticulous planning, and their noble intentions, the same fate could be waiting for them. The haunting question loomed: had the Eos drifted into the void because its crew had lost their way, or because they had been forced to admit that no way existed at all? The discovery of the Eos left an unshakable tension among the fleet. Even those who prided themselves on their pragmatism couldn't dismiss the eerie echoes of their own mission. The fact that the distress call still transmitted after centuries raised more questions than it answered. Was it a desperate act of the past, or had the ship's systems developed a grim determination of their own? Drones continued to scan the derelict, uncovering fragments of a story that seemed more like a riddle with missing pieces. Data logs revealed the Eos had once carried a vibrant colony, a mix of scientists, engineers, and dreamers who had set out to build humanity's first interstellar settlement. At first, their journey seemed like a success. Reports spoke of unity, progress, and boundless optimism. But then the tone shifted. The logs became scattered, cryptic, even paranoid. One entry stood out: the stars don't care. We argued about what's right, but out here, nothing feels certain anymore. The crew of the fleet pored over the entries, each word a puzzle piece in a story they could only guess at. What had fractured the colonists so deeply? Theories ranged from resource shortages to ideological schisms, with one particularly sarcastic scientist muttering, "Probably ran out of coffee." The humor helped, but it didn't erase the sense of unease. Then came the discovery that changed everything. In the Eos's cargo hold, among crates of ancient supplies, the drones found something unexpected: a spherical artifact unlike anything human-made. Its surface shimmered, reflecting light in strange patterns that seemed to move even when still. The moment it was brought aboard the fleet's flagship for analysis, strange phenomena began to occur. First, the ship's artificial gravity fluctuated, causing brief moments of weightlessness. Then the lights dimmed and brightened at irregular intervals, as though the ship itself was uneasy. Sensors picked up faint energy signatures emanating from the sphere, pulses that seemed almost rhythmic, like a heartbeat. Some dismissed it as a malfunction, but others weren't so sure. The artifact wasn't just alien, it felt alive. The lead researcher joked nervously, "Congratulations, we've adopted a cosmic pet. Let's just hope it's house-trained." But humor couldn't mask the growing tension. The artifact seemed to exert a subtle influence on those near it. Minor disagreements escalated into heated arguments. Petty frustrations, previously dismissed, now sparked open hostility. The ship's psychiatrist noted a rise in reported anxiety and paranoia, though no one could pinpoint why. As the artifact was studied, an unsettling theory emerged. What if it wasn't merely an object but a test? A mirror that reflected the deepest flaws of those who encountered it. The Eos crew might have succumbed not to external threats but to the unraveling of their own humanity. The implications sent a chill through the fleet. The artifact wasn't just a relic of the past, it was a warning. If the crew couldn't hold on to their own moral compass, the same fate could await them. One cynical crew member quipped, "At least we'll have company in the Cosmic Museum of Bad Decisions." Still, the question remained: was the artifact their greatest discovery or their doom? The artifact sat in the isolation chamber, a shimmering enigma radiating silent menace. Scientists in the fleet worked in shifts, analyzing its strange energy patterns and alien material composition. Every scan returned baffling results. Its core emitted an impossible combination of frequencies that seemed to fluctuate in direct response to nearby emotions. The moment someone approached it, even the most stoic individuals reported a peculiar feeling of being watched. This discovery was unsettling, to say the least. The artifact seemed less like an object and more like an observer, or worse, a judge. One technician joked nervously, "At least it doesn't ask us to sign a guest book before ruining our day." The laughter barely broke the tension. As the days passed, incidents around the fleet increased. Arguments erupted over trivial matters: assignments, rations, even seating arrangements in the mess hall. The camaraderie that had defined the mission felt as fragile as a soap bubble in a storm. It was as if the artifact had unlocked something primal, a hidden well of resentment that no one knew existed. One by one, the researchers assigned to the artifact reported vivid nightmares. These weren't the standard dreams of stress or overwork. They were disturbingly specific. Many described wandering through ruins that bore striking resemblance to the ones they had explored earlier. Others recounted seeing themselves arguing with shadowy figures, their voices echoing with words they swore they'd never say. The fleet's commander, a pragmatist to the core, finally ordered a psychological evaluation of the crew. The findings were as bizarre as they were alarming. People who had never shown signs of anxiety or aggression were now on edge. Teams that once worked seamlessly together were at each other's throats. One researcher quipped bitterly, "Forget the artifact, we've just discovered the galaxy's most passive-aggressive team-building exercise." Despite the tensions, the artifact remained their top priority. If it truly was influencing the crew, understanding it was critical. But the more they studied it, the less sense it made. One energy pattern appeared to mimic a Morse code-like rhythm, but when decoded, it translated into gibberish, or so they thought. After a linguist analyzed the patterns, they found something chilling. The sequences seemed to repeat phrases in dozens of languages, all variations of the same haunting message, "Prove yourselves." This revelation hit the crew like a lightning strike. Prove themselves. To whom? And for what purpose? The artifact didn't seem hostile, but its presence felt like an ongoing interrogation. Worse, the message implied that failure was an option and potentially catastrophic. Amid the chaos, one brave researcher suggested an experiment: isolate the artifact entirely, cutting it off from all human presence and monitoring its activity remotely. The moment the suggestion was made, systems across the fleet flickered violently. Alarms blared, lights dimmed, and several non-critical systems failed. One crew member muttered, "Well, that's a no from the creepy space orb." As the system stabilized, the crew faced an unsettling truth. The artifact wasn't just observing, it was reacting. And whatever it wanted, it wasn't going to let them ignore it. The artifact's defiance had shifted the tone aboard the fleet from curiosity to dread. It wasn't just an alien relic, it was something alive, something aware. Every time the crew attempted to isolate it or reduce its influence, the ship's systems rebelled. Lights flickered in bizarre patterns, gravity fluctuated unpredictably, and once the cafeteria served meals completely rearranged by color. A nervous engineer remarked, "At least it hasn't figured out how to scramble eggs directly in the shell." Yet, the command team was split on how to proceed. One faction argued that the artifact was a threat and should be jettisoned into space immediately. The other believed it held the key to understanding the universe's mysteries and should be studied further. Both sides shared one unspoken fear: what if throwing it away made things worse? No one wanted to test if the universe had a temper. As tensions boiled over, the artifact pulsed with another eerie energy wave. This time, it wasn't just localized glitches or strange occurrences. Entire sections of the fleet's data archives were suddenly rewritten in alien symbols, leaving cryptic sequences that resembled fractals. Analysis revealed something even stranger: the patterns mirrored human brainwaves. It was as if the artifact was trying to communicate directly with their consciousness, but its methods were too alien to comprehend. Desperate for answers, the lead scientist proposed a radical plan. They would expose one crew member to the artifact in a controlled environment, monitoring every variable to see how it interacted with a single individual. Volunteers were scarce. Unsurprisingly, no one was eager to play test subject to a space enigma with a god complex. Finally, an eager but nervous xenobiologist offered, "Well, if I'm going to lose my mind, at least I'll do it for science." The experiment began cautiously. The researcher sat alone in the observation chamber with the artifact, separated by a translucent energy barrier. At first, nothing happened. Then, slowly, the artifact began to pulse, its shimmering surface rippling as though reacting to unseen waves. The researcher reported feeling a strange calmness at first, like being cradled in silence. But the peace didn't last. Within minutes, the researcher began describing vivid hallucinations, visions of otherworldly landscapes, massive cities made of light, and beings with forms that defied description. At first, the imagery was awe-inspiring, but it quickly turned sinister. The visions shifted to endless battles, collapsing civilizations, and an overwhelming sense of despair. The researcher's voice grew frantic as they cried out, "It's showing me everything we could become and everything we could destroy." Before the team could intervene, the artifact pulsed violently, knocking out power to the observation chamber. When the lights returned, the researcher was unharmed but visibly shaken. They described one final message burned into their mind: the compass falters. Choose wisely. The experiment left the crew shaken. The artifact wasn't just testing them, it was judging them. Every decision, every conflict, every failure to unify seemed to feed into its cryptic evaluation. The fleet had set out to explore the cosmos, but now it seemed the cosmos was exploring them instead. The fleet hovered in uneasy silence, every crew member acutely aware that their mission had taken a turn from exploration to existential reckoning. The artifact's cryptic warnings weighed heavily on them. What did it mean by the compass falters? Whose compass? Humanity's, or something even broader, a universal measure of worth they couldn't comprehend. Efforts to decode its behavior became more frantic. Data poured in, each fragment more puzzling than the last. Patterns emerged only to dissolve again, like trying to grasp sand in a fist. The artifact pulsed intermittently, each pulse rattling nerves and ship systems alike. One engineer sarcastically suggested naming it Karen, since it seemed to demand constant attention without offering anything constructive. A breakthrough came when someone noticed a pattern in the energy emissions. They mirrored the fleet's internal communication frequencies. The artifact wasn't just interacting with individuals, it was monitoring their collective behavior, tuning itself to the emotional and moral frequency of the fleet as a whole. The realization hit like a meteor. Their every argument, every moment of petness, every failure to act in unity was being logged. In desperation, the fleet's leaders called for a council, a rare event meant only for the gravest situations. Crew members of every rank, department, and perspective were brought together to discuss the artifact, the fleet, and, unsettlingly, the future of humanity itself. The room buzzed with tension. Some argued the artifact was an opportunity, a gift from an advanced intelligence. Others saw it as a trap, a cosmic landmine waiting to detonate. A junior technician finally broke the stalemate with a simple observation. What if this thing isn't testing us because it hates us? What if it's testing us because it sees potential? You don't test what you've already given up on. The room fell silent, the weight of the words settling over them like a heavy blanket. The crew made a bold decision. Instead of treating the artifact as a threat or an object of study, they would treat it as an equal, a kind of silent ambassador from a civilization far beyond their understanding. They compiled a message, broadcasting it in every frequency, every language, even in mathematical sequences. The message was simple: we are flawed, but we strive. We learn, we grow, and we choose to hope. For a moment, nothing happened. The artifact sat still, its surface dim as though considering their words. Then, slowly, it pulsed with a light brighter than any before. The ship's system stabilized, the erratic energy surges ceased, and the oppressive tension lifted. Data streamed from the artifact, revealing detailed star charts, technological blueprints, and something else, a final message. Prove it. The artifact disintegrated into a fine mist, dispersing into the void like a cosmic sigh. The crew stared in awe, feeling a mix of relief and an odd sense of responsibility. The fleet resumed its journey, but something had shifted. The mission was no longer just about mapping the stars. It was about proving, if only to themselves, that humanity could rise above its flaws and earn its place among the cosmos. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Sci-Fi Horizon Stories for more thrilling tales of science fiction and adventure.